Welcome to Hispanic Biz Success Stories. I'm Homero Galicia. We interview business owners to learn from them how they built a successful business and to learn their story. We're very fortunate today to have with us Mr. Rick Hernandez from Mustang Express. Mr. Hernandez, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
And sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
As I've been sharing with Mr. Hernandez, he's been telling me about his years as a truck driver. His grandfather's a truck driver, his father was a truck driver, and after the military service, he drove a truck, the large semis, for 3 years, and then he got into mid-management and management and got into sales. So here you are with a whole early training career in all aspects of the trucking operation. Is that right?
That's correct. The last company that I had worked with was actually Central Freight Lines. My career took me to the next level when I left Central Freight Lines, and I went to go work for a truckload carrier, a national truckload carrier that had a facility here in El Paso. That's where I actually had another interest in full truckload operation. The Central Freight Lines was selling LTL, less than truckload, but the actual truckload carrier that I took was the truckload business itself.
What's the difference?
The difference is LTL is a small bunch of small little packages, skids to make up you may have 40, 50 customers of their freight in one actual trailer versus one shipment on the truckload side.
So what do you do now with your business?
Our business is geared at one shipment for one customer. We directly deal just with that one customer on each individual load that we have.
So Mustang Express, when did you begin Mustang Express?
We started out Mustang Express February of 2000. I was a lease owner operator by a gentleman with the company name of West Texas Express. The owner was Mr. Joe Roberts. Mr. Roberts was kind of like my mentor also as well when it came to the full truckload segment side of it. He's the one that actually taught me basically how to start up, how to do this, what I needed to do to get the truck going.
So how did you start that lease operator?
It was a lease operator opportunity that I took with one truck that he actually leased back to me. I in turn learned every segment that I possibly could. But I still had I double dipped with him because he gave me an opportunity of being his sales rep also as well. So that's what helped me learn at the same time I was there watching everything that he was doing.
Well, I mean, you've been in trucking all your life.
Yes, sir.
And you've been in management, and you've driven, and you've been in sales. And so now you're a lease owner operator.
Yes, sir.
What more did you have to learn?
Well, I think it's just the experience that you have to go through on a daily basis. Every day in our truckload segment world changes. I lasted 18 months with Mr. Roberts, and I went back to work for another company, and that was short-lived, very short-lived. And I lost my job September 11th of 2001. That morning is when I lost my job.
Wow.
The world changed for not only the United States, but it also changed for me dramatically. It had a very dramatic day, I guess. It was a dramatic day for myself. I got a double whammy on that day.
Wow. Well, you've always had success. You've always been pursuing and training, and then what happened? It really hit you then.
It did. I came home. I remember coming home and talking to Laura and asking her, Laura, I just lost my job. What are we going to do? God always has a plan. So, I stayed there at home the majority of the day, just thinking about what needed to be done. One thing I do remember saying is, I never want to be in this situation ever again. I don't want to put my family in that situation. On that day, I made a decision. I had a buddy of mine that came by to see me and says, hey, go get a truck and we'll put you down as an owner-operator. 2-3 weeks later, I had my first truck. We restarted Mustang Express, and we
Well.
started with one truck.
So why did you call it Mustang Express?
I've called Mustang Express due to the sheer fact that when I had the vision, I had to have a name that was strong, dependable, and that's what Mustang Express to me means: strong and dependable and on-time service. There's two running horses on my logo. One of the running horses is for myself. The other one is for my son Joshua.
Your logo is two horses,
Yes, sir.
Mustangs.
Mustangs.
But you have Mustangs all over your office, the automobile as well.
I have the automobiles. I have cars. I have horses, actually, little painted trail ponies that I have throughout the office. We are Mustang fanatics, but the company was not named after the car itself.
After the Mustangs. So you start your business you're leasing.
I was a lease owner operator.
And how long did you do that?
I did that for about 18 months. Then I became an owner operator for about 2 years. At that time, I said, you know what, something needs to be done. Am I going to continue doing this, or am I going to go to the next step? I went and asked my parents for some advice. And I asked my mom and dad, hey, I'm thinking of maybe shutting her down and maybe going to work full time with somebody else. I'm not making the type of money that I would need to continue the business. So I went and talked to my mom and my dad, and they said, well, what do you need? What would you need to grow this business? And I said, well, I probably need a cash infusion. That's what I think. And after the meeting that I had, or the talk that I had, I left there. And all of a sudden, the next morning, my father calls me. We need to see you. I'm like, oh, what did I do now? So within half an hour, I was at their house. And I remember this day was an October day. It was cold and rainy outside. And they sat me down there at the kitchen table. And out of the blue, my mom comes from the bedroom. And I can hear her walking down the hallway to this day. She sits there on the kitchen table and tells me, lays an envelope in front of me. Here. I said, what is this? And she goes, well, open it. I opened up the envelope, and there's a check there for $60,000.
Wow.
She goes, you need to go out there and go after it. You have a vision, go after it. I'm like,
did they have the money?
They didn't have the money. They did not have the money. Like I said, they were raising a second family. I wanted advice. I didn't want their money. Well, my mom says, well, it's too late now, You have $60,000. You're either going to make it work for you or you're not.
How'd they get that money?
My parents put a second lien on their home. And I tell you, when I heard that, I was like, oh my gosh. The monkey really gets on your back. And things make you get motivated even more.
And you have brothers and sisters.
Yes.
You're the oldest.
Yes.
So they invested in you.
My parents invested in me big time.
Wow.
18 months later, though, I had that loan paid back off. And my dad was a little upset with me. He goes, I need a tax deduction.
So what did you do with that $60,000?
I invested it into the company, and we went the next level now. We actually got our own USDOT number. And with that USDOT number, you don't belong to anybody else except your own self. That way you can travel the United States and you take care of everything on your own.
So how about vehicles?
When we started out with Mustang Express, like I said, we had one truck. 2 months later, we had another one. And about 6 months after that, I had the third truck. We stayed that way for about 18 months, I think it was, 24 months. And then we decided to go ahead, and once we had that cash infusion, we were able to buy 2 used trucks. So the fleet actually was at 5 trucks when we started going off on our own.
How did you finance those after a while?
It was a difficult deal to finance the trucks, but I think you just have to have the knowledge of what you're doing and what you believe in, and have the right people being there that will be able to help you.
What do those things cost?
A brand new tractor right now is about $135,000, just the tractor alone.
How many do you have?
As of last week, we have 32 trucks.
You just took delivery of some new ones.
I just took delivery of 3 new trucks.
You buy one brand, huh?
I buy only one brand. I'm known in El Paso for being the only Volvo trucking company, 100% Volvo.
You like Volvo?
I like Volvo due to the efficiencies of the truck. It's a very good looking truck. On top of that, the aerodynamics of the truck, the cost savings. It's all about saving fuel now. And that's one of the things that the Volvo truck really does for us. It helps us get to that next level, including all the trailers that we have. We have 60 trailers. Every trailer has trailer tails and trailer skirts to reduce the drag of the air. And once you reduce drag in the air, it actually gives you a better fuel mileage.
I see those, and I wonder, because I see the skirts on the side,
Yes.
so you can't drive a car underneath the trailer. But no, it reduces the drag, and then at the back of the truck they have these flares that they put out to, so that really saves fuel, huh?
Yes, sir, it does. We've seen an increase in our mile per gallons from 7.6 to an 8.3, 8.4 miles to a gallon.
Really makes a difference.
Makes a difference. When I first started out with the first couple of trucks that we had, we were running about 5.9 miles to a gallon.
Wow. So how many drivers do you have?
Right now, we all our trucks are full with the teams. So we have over 60 drivers at least right now.
Because you use 2 drivers per vehicle?
Per truck, there's 60. There's 2 drivers times there's 64 drivers roughly.
Wow. Now, and they stay with you, or do you have a lot of turnover?
We have some turnover, but I've been very fortunate that I have some drivers that have been with me 5, 6, 7 years. Those are the guys that have been with me the longest. One of the things that they like is that when they know when they come to work that day, they're going to be going to wherever they're going to go, whether it's Detroit, Michigan, Indianapolis, Indiana, Moody, Alabama, the Carolinas, that they're going to come right back to El Paso. They go and they come right back. They may stay here maybe 3-4 hours, maybe a day, but they know that they're coming back to see their family.
Do they bring back a load as well?
Yes, sir. Every load that we go, we send out a loaded shipment. We go and pick up for our customers wherever it is, and we bring that load right back to El Paso.
So in building your business now, how many years have you been in business?
15 years under our own name.
What kind of obstacles have you been faced with?
Initially, I guess the bank believing in you, the money, people not paying you on time are some of the obstacles also that we have. The drivers, trying to make sure that all our drivers are taken care of first and foremost, because they have families. We believe in taking care of everybody at Mustang Express. That's what we're known for, trying to always take care of everybody before we take care of ourselves.
Well, that business is a very capital-intensive business. I mean, you're dealing with these trucks at $130,000 or something.
Yes, sir.
And then you have high liability insurance you have to pay, high fuel costs, and you have to pay the drivers.
Yes, sir.
So that's huge costs. How do you finance all of that?
Well, one of the things that I've always said is you have to plant that seed and continue doing what you need to do. Pay your bills on time. Make sure that you're not getting stopped, in my business, stopped by the DPS. Making sure that everything is in working order and that everything is following through from beginning to end. And that's every single day, not just in the beginning. It's every single day.
And how about maintenance? You've got to maintain these vehicles.
Yes, we, our trucks average, our span that we keep our truck is about 3.5 to 4 years. Right now, the oldest truck that we have on the fleet is a 2012 model. Those trucks are going to be traded in. We have 6 of those that are going to be taken off the fleet towards the end of the third quarter of this year.
All right. Why do you do that?
Why? The maintenance cost, the warranty work, after 500,000 miles, the warranty goes away. So, we're investing. We try to invest as little as we possibly can. And if there is an issue or problem, we tackle it right then and there immediately.
So you buy new trucks?
We buy all from now. Every truck that we buy now is new. And like I said, they stay on the fleet for about 3.5 to 4 years, depending on how many miles they have.
Wow. And how many miles do you put on these trucks before you trade them in?
We've traded in, the last couple of trucks that we traded in had a little bit over 750 to 775,000 miles.
So they don't reach 1 million miles with you.
They don't reach 1 million
And
miles with me.
And so that's the strategy that you have. Why do you do that?
I believe that that strategy there works for us due to the sheer fact of trying to get into a cycle of trading in, buying new equipment, trading it in, and that way I consider myself a just-in-time carrier. You know, we can get anywhere within a matter of hours. They leave El Paso, and 32 hours later, they should be in Detroit, Michigan. No ands, ifs, or buts about it.
Wow. What kind of clients do you have?
We have a variety of customers here in the El Paso area. I don't have all my eggs in one basket. I handle medical supplies. I handle refrigerators, washers, dryers. I handle a variety of stuff. It's not just one particular customer. Toners, paper. It's just and the customers that we have, a lot of those customers are long-term customers. I have a customer that we do a lot of shipments from El Paso to the Indianapolis area. I had him basically 11 years.
Wow. And your family works with you, part of your family, right?
My wife, Laura, works with me. She came to work for me, not with me. I guess I don't think I should, that didn't come out right. She works with us, and she's the vice president of the company. Joshua works with me, and he's been with me about 12 years also.
That's your oldest son?
My oldest son.
And what does he do?
He actually controls the money.
Ah.
He's very good at making sure that the monies are in the bank, that people are getting paid, whatever entails as far as the money side of it. That's the main job that he has. I guess he would be like the CFO.
Wow. So you've already prepared your transition.
In a roundabout way, yes. Laura and I have it in our wills that the day that we do pass, and neither one of us is here to continue our legacy. He takes 70% of the business, and his sisters take the other 30.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so what's the future?
The future is growth. Right now, we have several customers. We have one customer in particular that wants us to grow, and we believe that it's God's will that he's going to take us to the next level.
Really? Which means you have to buy a lot more equipment.
I'm going to have to buy some more equipment if this thing does happen, if it pans out.
So how have you built that relationship with the lending institutions?
You know what? Like I said, paying your bills on time. One of the things that I have done early on is I didn't want to have to deal with a bounce check. What if? I didn't want to deal with that. We actually have all our tractors, all the trailers that are being financed on automatic. With a whole, they directly take the money out of the account whenever it's due, and that's how we have built up our credit.
Wow. I want to ask you a little bit about the new trucks, because apparently they're real fascinating. But before that, I want to ask you, there was a downturn in the trucking industry, and you were in business.
Yes.
In what was that, about 2008?
It was 2008, 2009 when the economy really took a hit. Trucking took a hit on it. I was at the point where, we had saved up, we had reserve, $500,000 in reserve. And we just had that money sitting there. The rainy day came, and we had that money there.
So that carried you through how long?
About a year. Things got tough, very, very tough.
Some competitors lost their business.
A lot of trucking companies decided to shut down their trucking companies because they didn't have that money. They didn't have the reserve on hand to take care of business when it was time to take care of it.
Where did you learn that?
You know what? I owe it to the family, Joshua. It's called. He always has a saying. It's called delayed gratification, Dad. So we don't need the money. Just set it aside. Set it aside, and we used it for that rainy day. We had $500,000 in reserves, and we had probably another 250 that was there at the bank with the SBA that was willing to lend us that money. We used up quite a bit of the reserve, and we also tapped into the SBA to make it work. But over the course of time, things came back, and we were very fortunate that we had that money set aside there.
So you had a line of credit.
Yes, sir.
Wow, well, that was pretty smart. And so, you have growth ahead. You've managed your business pretty well, managed the growth. What was your mindset to manage that? Did that come natural, or did you learn as you went?
I learned as I went. One of the things, we didn't want to get very big. That was my saying. I didn't want to get very big. Do I want to grow it? I want to grow it to about 40, 45 trucks. It's building it a little bit at a time. Don't make the mistake that other people have made by growing their business too fast. Banks don't like that, but they'll lend you the money. But, could you get yourself into trouble? Yes, you could.
So you've seen that
I've
fast
seen
growth can be dangerous.
It can, yes.
And so you've purposely decided to do slow growth.
Yes.
What does that allow you to do?
We can add tractors, trailers to the fleet, employees to the operation, and it's a slow growth for us. It doesn't hit us as hard as having to automatically have 15 tractors there without drivers. If you don't have the drivers, you can't move the truck.
So you're always developing a pool of drivers.
Yes, sir.
Well, tell me about your customers. I like to ask, sometimes I ask about, do you know if a customer is ready to fire you? How close are you to your clients?
I believe I'm very close to my customers and clients, due to the sheer fact that, you're only as good as your last shipment, the load that you delivered for them on time. And like I said, all my customers that we have, it's very rare that I let somebody down. And when we do let somebody down, I'm the one making the phone call, asking for their forgiveness. What can I do differently to ensure that this doesn't happen again? And like I tell them, there's times that I don't have any control over it. If a truck breaks down, I can't do anything about it except try to get it to the next dealership to get it repaired, towed in. So that's one of the things that I always try to do, and building that relationship and trust with them also. If they request something, even if they don't request it, they have a copy of an invoice that's going to be emailed and scanned to them, showing them the truck number, the trailer number that they loaded up their product in, and that it was towed into a dealership. Why? Because I want them to understand that here's the proof that we did break down.
Wow. Does that happen a lot?
Not very much, but when it does, trucks will break down.
Let me ask you, one of the issues I think you have to deal with is weather. I mean, especially this season was a tremendously harsh area for for the Midwest. How does that affect your business?
It affects our business tremendously. We're always looking ahead. We're always looking 24, 36 hours ahead. Whenever we see a weather pattern coming down that's not favorable, we start letting our drivers know immediately, whether they're coming or going. Hey, you need to leave a couple of hours early. You're going to be probably experiencing some weather conditions. Please leave 4 or 6 hours early, just to protect yourselves. Don't be in a rush.
Have you had weather-related accidents?
That's part of being in the trucking industry.
Wow.
You'll have a little fender bender. We hadn't really had any accidents this past year, but what was it, about 2 months ago, we had that storm that hit the Dallas area, and there was ice that was 1 inch, 2 inches in some areas thick. One of our tractors slid a little bit and hit a truck. The good thing is that nobody was injured.
Wow. This has got to be a concern for you, because
Yes.
these are huge vehicles.
They are. They're always a concern.
So you enjoy your work. You enjoy what you're doing.
I do enjoy it. Every day is a different day in transportation. There's no day the same, so it's always a challenge.
Well, one thing I like about what you're sharing is the preparation you took to learn your business in its breadth. The wide scope of your business. Maybe you didn't have a plan, but you wanted to understand that industry, from sales, the warehouse, the terminal management. So the industry. So when you got into the business on your own, you weren't a freshman. You knew what you were doing.
Right.
How valuable was that?
That experience, like I said, is It's a very valuable experience. You could never buy that. That is experience that you will always have under your belt. I just feel that, God really opened up the doors for me to go one step at a time.
Well, that seems to be that your style. You're planning growth, slow growth, but it's there. You prepared yourself for running a business. You went through the steps. You took time. You weren't in a rush.
Right.
Is that something you grew up with? Something that's inside? Where did that come from?
I believe that's inside of me. It's like over the course of the last year or so, we were given the opportunity of moving into a new facility. 7.9 acres of property that we were able to buy that I never thought that we would be until we took that next step. And all those experiences throughout the course of the years have prepared us for that. I'm not going to say it wasn't scary. It was scary, but it's not as scary as it was in the very beginning.
So now you have your own lot and your own building.
Yes, sir.
That's a big step. So what's your advice?
My advice to anybody that wants to become an entrepreneur, find a mentor. Find a mentor. Do what that mentor tells you to do. Follow his advice. Don't just say yes, 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 and not follow it, because that defeats the purpose of trying to learn from that individual.
Well, why do you need a mentor?
I believe that mentor can help you get to the next level. And that's one of the things that I've done with my mentors that I've had in the course of my life, is that these guys have all helped me at one time or another get to that next step. Everybody that I mentioned has helped me get to that next step.
Yeah, but you were open to people helping you.
You have to be open and look at the big picture. If you're not going to be open and look at the big picture, then it's on you.
Fantastic. I really appreciate your sharing your story, and especially the way you prepared, and you're very deliberate about growing your business, and you have a family business, a great legacy. Mr. Hernandez, it's been a pleasure hearing your story. It's just a wonderful story. I hope you enjoyed sharing your story.
I did. Thank you very much is all I can say. You never expect something like this, but out of the blue you called me and asked me, and of course.
Well, I've known you for a long time, and I really appreciate it. I wanted to get this interview for some time, so thank you. And I trust that the viewers enjoyed watching this interview and have learned something and enjoyed it. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Have a good day. Goodbye.